My hypothesis is that the consciousness transforming cognitive experience subsequent to ingesting the ritual brew ayahuasca is not, as it is often suggested, the direct result of plant chemistry, but of the shaman's consciousness reaching the experiencer's consciousness through the medium of plant chemistry as a thought and energy transmitter. This view is not to be understood in a reductionist way. I do not say that all is to be reduced to one single root cause, but propose to consider one more option in our scientific investigation of paranormal phenomena. To corroborate my hypothesis, I shall report a mind-opening experience with ayahuasca during a visit to a Shuar native shaman in Ecuador back in 2004. There are several facts and events around my ayahuasca experience that are explainable more soundly when applying my own hypothesis instead of trying to match it with the often voiced theory that psychedelic experiences are caused as a linear effect by a plant-contained chloride named DMT. To anticipate a little on my conclusions, my hypothesis provides a non-linear explanation of the psychedelic experience. My hypothesis does not deny the existence of the chloride and its possible effects on the human psyche, but I contend that the mind-opening effects noticed by the novice after ingesting the brew are a result of the shaman's consciousness impacting upon a passive perception matrix that is part of the plant realm and that the shaman uses as a transmitter forum. I repeat that I do not discuss away any possible other explanation, so much the more as I myself, after the trance began to grip on me, had the impression there was an intelligence in touch with me. An intelligence that was alien in a way, and that I attributed to the plant realm. My point in this paper is not to invalidate any of the current hypotheses about psychedelic drugs, but to help finding what it is that effectively opens, modifies, or expands human consciousness during the ayahuasca experience. Before I am going to give some flesh and bones to my assumption, let me report that I found till now at least one reference that seems to confirm my point. As the result of a general research on shamanism and entheogens, and particularly ayahuasca, that I undertook over several years, I must conclude that most of the researchers seem to defend a rather mechanistic causation theory that sees the source of all paranormal phenomena in the chemical plant substances. For example, Terence McKenna, under the spell of his large knowledge on ethnopharmacology, and his brother, Dennis McKenna, an ethnobotanist, never left a doubt in all their writings on the subject of psychedelics that causation of altered states of consciousness is due to psychoactive compounds in plants called entheogens. The question, what exactly the role is of the shaman in opening greater pathways of consciousness, is left open or subject to speculation. Dr. Rick Strassman, a researcher on DMT for many years, has quite the same linear idea about causation and sees plant chemistry as the activating force. I have found so far two researchers who express a different view. Their research seems to corroborate my own findings. Jeremy Narby, in his book The Cosmic Serpent, puts up the daring hypothesis that causation is due to biophoton emission, not plant chemistry. He observes that initially this was a valid part of research that, however, from the middle of the 1970s onward, disappeared from the scientific literature. What is seen in psychedelic visions, according to Narby's research, are photons emitted by the DNA. Narby writes in The Cosmic Serpent, I quote, "Researchers working in this new field mainly consider biophoton emission as a cellular language or a form of non-substantial biocommunication between cells and organisms. Over the last 15 years, they have conducted enough reproducible experiments to believe that cells use these waves to direct their own internal reactions as well as to communicate among themselves and even between organisms. For instance, photon emission provides a communication mechanism that could explain how billions of individual plankton organisms cooperate in swarms behaving like superorganisms." Now, succinctly speaking, what Narby wants to show is that what the shamans perceive as spirits are in reality biophotons emitted by the cells of the human body. I quote, "What if these spirits were none other than the biophotons emitted by all the cells of the world and picked up, amplified, and transmitted by shamans' quartz crystals, Gurvich's quartz screens, and the quartz containers of biophoton researchers? This would mean that spirits are beings of pure light, which has always been claimed."